In a cozy cottage at the edge of a great forest lived a tiny gray kitten named Whiskers. Her fur was as soft as dandelion fluff, and her bright green eyes sparkled with curiosity whenever she looked out at the world. But what made Whiskers truly special was her tail. It was the fluffiest tail anyone had ever seen, like a little gray cloud that followed her wherever she went. Every morning, Whiskers would sit by the kitchen window with her mother, watching the garden come alive. Her mother, a beautiful silver tabby named Luna, would groom Whiskers' fur while teaching her important life lessons.
The garden is our home, little one. The forest beyond may look exciting, but it holds many mysteries and surprises that a small kitten isn't ready for. Promise me you'll stay close to home.
Whiskers would always nod obediently, but her eyes couldn't help wandering to the towering trees that swayed in the breeze. She loved watching butterflies dance among the flowers in their garden, their delicate wings painting the air with splashes of color. One particularly bright morning, as golden sunbeams streamed through the leaves, Whiskers was practicing her pouncing in the garden. She had almost caught her own tail 3 times, quite an achievement for a kitten her size, when something extraordinary caught her eye. There, floating just above the roses, was the most magnificent butterfly she had ever seen. Its wings weren't just beautiful, they seemed to capture the light itself, scattering it like countless tiny rainbows. Each flutter sent sparkles of gold and silver dancing through the air. Without thinking, Whiskers crouched down, her fluffy tail twitching with excitement. The butterfly drifted closer, almost as if it were inviting her to play. One small paw step at a time, Whiskers followed the mesmerizing creature. She barely noticed as the familiar garden flowers gave way to wild mushrooms and fallen leaves. The butterfly led her deeper and deeper into the forest, always staying just out of reach, like a magical spirit guiding her on an adventure. Then, with one final spectacular shimmer, the butterfly rose high into the canopy and disappeared, leaving Whiskers alone in a part of the forest she had never seen before. The trees here were ancient giants, their trunks wider than 3 kittens standing nose to tail. Their branches reached so high that they wove together far above, creating a living ceiling that turned the sunlight green and mysterious. Reality slowly crept in as Whiskers realized she couldn't see her garden anymore. The familiar smells of home had been replaced by strange forest scents, damp earth, wild mushrooms, and something musky she couldn't identify. Strange sounds echoed through the woods, the creaking of branches, the rustling of unseen creatures, and calls of birds she had never heard before. Her heart began to flutter like the wings of the butterfly she had followed.
I don't know how to get home.
She turned in circles, but every direction looked the same. Tall trees, shadows, and unfamiliar paths stretching into darkness. Just as her eyes began to fill with tears, a gentle voice floated down from above.
Young one, why do those green eyes shine with such worry?
Looking up, Whiskers saw a magnificent great horned owl perched on a gnarled branch. His feathers were mottled brown and gray, perfect for blending with the tree bark, but his eyes were bright and kind, glowing like amber in the forest shadows.
I'm lost.
Whiskers admitted, her voice trembling.
I followed a beautiful butterfly, but now I can't find my way back to my garden.
A tear rolled down her fuzzy cheek.
My mama must be so worried.
The owl's head tilted thoughtfully.
Ah, yes. The forest can be quite confusing for those who don't know its ways. But fear not, little Whiskers, for the forest is full of friends who can help guide you home. I am Solomon, and I watch over these woods from sunrise to sunset.
As if summoned by Solomon's words, a family of red squirrels appeared, scampering down a nearby trunk. The mother squirrel, her fur a warm russet color, approached Whiskers with a gentle chittering sound.
We saw where you came from, little kitten. We watch everything from our treetop home. Follow the path where we've dropped pine cones. They'll lead you to Benjamin.
Who's Benjamin?
Whiskers asked, already feeling more hopeful. Benjamin is our friend, the rabbit with a special mark, a white spot right on his nose.
He knows all the ground paths in the forest.
The youngest squirrel explained, demonstrating by twitching his own nose excitedly. The squirrel family worked together, quickly laying out a trail of pine cones. Whiskers followed carefully, counting each step. The forest didn't seem quite so scary now, especially with Solomon gliding silently from tree to tree above her, keeping watch. Soon enough, they came to a clearing filled with clover, where a plump brown rabbit with a distinctive white spot on his nose sat munching thoughtfully on a leaf.
Ah, you must be the lost kitten.
Benjamin said, his voice surprisingly deep for such a gentle-looking creature.
I've been expecting you. News travels fast in the forest, especially when Solomon is involved.
Benjamin stood up, indicating for Whiskers to follow him.
Your home lies beyond the berry bushes, where the wild meets the tame. But we'll need one more friend to show you the final path. Robin, could you spare a moment?
Of course, I know exactly where this little one belongs. I've seen her chasing leaves in her garden many times. Follow me, young Whiskers. I'll lead you home in no time.
True to his word, the robin flew from branch to branch, always waiting patiently for Whiskers to catch up. As they traveled, the forest began to thin, and suddenly Whiskers spotted something that made her heart leap. Her family's wooden garden fence.
Mama, I'm home.
Luna burst from the cottage, rushing to meet her kitten. She covered Whiskers in worried kisses, checking her from ears to tail tip for any injuries.
My precious kitten, we were so worried. Where have you been?
Through happy tears, Whiskers told her mother about the magical butterfly, the wise Solomon, the helpful squirrel family, kind Benjamin, and the cheerful Robin who had all helped her find her way home. Luna listened with understanding eyes, and when the story was done, she nuzzled Whiskers gently.
You were very lucky to meet such kind friends. But remember, little one, sometimes the most exciting adventures are the ones we have close to home.
From that day forward, Whiskers never wandered into the forest alone again. Instead, she found ways to thank her forest friends. She helped her mother gather soft fabric scraps for the squirrel's nest. She left carrot tops from the garden for Benjamin, and scattered seeds for the robin. Each evening, as the sun set behind the trees, Whiskers would sit by the garden fence. Whiskers would listen to the forest's song, Solomon's wise hoot, the squirrel's merry chatter, Benjamin's quiet munching, and the robin's sweet melody. These sounds reminded her that friendship and kindness can turn any scary situation into an adventure, and that sometimes getting a little lost helps us find the most wonderful things.